So I'm Robin Harford from eatweeds.co.uk, and today I am talking to Krishna McKenzie, who sounds as though he might be Indian, but he lives in India, but he isn't Indian. And Krishna, I understand you've got a farm in a lovely little town called Auroville in southern India, Tamil Nadu, yeah? Is that right?
That's right. Hi, Robin.
Hello.
Lovely to be here with you talking. Yeah, so I'm a Brit, actually, like yourself. Born in Wiltshire and grew up in Portsmouth and went to school in the J. Krishnamurti School near Petersfield in Hampshire. And at 19, I went to live in Auroville, deeply inspired by a vision of living a simple life, living close to nature, growing my own food, living in community, and also feeling that simple life would facilitate an inner inquiry, which for me, the more existential questions of life coming from a Krishnamurti school were, very important.
So for people who don't know who Krishnamurti is, can you just give?
So he's one of the, I would say, one of the most influential sort of spiritual teachers, philosophers of the last century. He was an Indian, but raised by Annie Besant from the Theosophical Society, and he did his education in London, and he had a huge following up until his 30s, like millions of devotees and this, and at one point he disbanded it and said that truth is a pathless land. You cannot reach it through a guru, a dogma.
He was almost the anti-guru.
He was a very much anti-guru. He was saying you have to look at your own mind. He said, if you like, we walk together, I'll show you the door, but you have to walk through it. Like any of the great teachers, they haven't been a crutch for people. And so he had the various schools in India, and one in California and one in England. And those schools were very special places. And it was at that school studying jazz guitar and theatre and actually doing quite serious science, research in genetics, that I started running the vegetable garden with a guy who lived in Auroville. And it was this guy introduced me to Auroville and to the whole idea of that you could actually, live a very, very different life. And someone also introduced me at that time to my, who I consider my guru, who is Masanobu Fukuoka. And
he's the author of?
He's the author of The One Straw Revolution, which is, it's, I think, amongst permaculturists and anyone seriously in this work, they recognize that as the sort of the foundation of alternative thought in this work today. So Fukuoka was... Fukuoka is the inspiration of everything I've done. At first, in January 93, I started in Annapurna Farm in Auroville. I was there for a year and digging ponds and ploughing and threshing rice. And basically, it was an apprenticeship, learning about the culture. And then I started a project on my own. So, I wanted to know what it meant to live like bloody Robinson Crusoe, build your own house. Sure. So I lived hardcore, back to the nature style. And then after that, I started Solitude Farm. And Solitude Farm has been going now since January 96. And, it's quite remarkable what's happened there. In the last year, the work's gone viral. And it's ridiculous how the vision of Fukuoka has really been demonstrated there in a very authentic and daily life, daily way, quotidian, every day it's the food is on the table, from local weeds, plants that grow without any effort, plants that that have a higher medicinal nutritional value, plants that are using less water, plants that are relevant to a culture, plants that are the cultural identity of the people of Tamil Nadu. And yet most of those plants you won't find in a shop.
Exactly.
Those, and yet that culture of Tamil Nadu, you see, Tamil is the oldest language in the world. It's 40,000 years old. And you look at the temples, you've been in India, you've seen the temples, they're awe-inspiring. You see the Carnatic music and the Bharatanatyam and the ancient Siddha medicine, the Ayurveda, the esoteric text, the spirituality. You drop your jaw. It's just wow. That culture emerged because the society had a relationship to where their food came from. And this is the whole sort of basis of what we're trying to demonstrate at the farm, is that we don't know where our food comes from anymore. We eat 3 times a day, but we don't know who grew the food, geographically where it was grown, if chemicals were used, if they were, which chemicals, and how much chemical, how it's stored, processed, packed and transported. That relationship is gone. And
even in India where from my understanding, there's still a huge land community, isn't there?
There is, but it's industrialized agriculture. Yeah, I mean, when a farmer grows an acre of peanuts, he pays 1,000 rupees to plough the land. He pays another 1,000 rupees for the peanuts. Peanuts quite expensive seed. He pays another 1,000 rupees for the compost. Another 1,000 rupees for the weeding. After 2 weeks, you have to do the first weeding. And another weeding, after another 1,000 rupees for after the 2 months, the next weeding. So the farmer spent 5,000-6,000 rupees on his peanuts. He needs his return on that peanuts. He's not stupid. He wants his money back. But it means that every weed, the Thelinium triangulare, the purslane, which grows everywhere, or the nanari, the sarsaparilla, or the butterfly pea, that blue flower that's good for women, for their uterus, good for epilepsy, brain development, that various other flowers and seeds and roots and, grasses, that then they're just out. We don't want that. We need our money. But those peanuts get sold to some guy, and the farmer buys government subsidized rice, So that there is a loss of relationship simply with where does the food that we eat come from, and that's what we've seen at Solitude is basically that looking at Fukuoka's work, the title of the book is The One Straw Revolution. As you know, he means to value the straw cut from the rice harvest, put it back to the field, and then naturally that's fertility. So like if I was on the farm now, I'd show you the soil. The soil in the farm is alive. There are millions of microorganisms and molds and bacteria and insects and earthworms and fungi and mycelium and small animals. The life equals the fertility. It's the equation of the natural farmer. And, that fertility, that is the divinity of the soil. And every culture worshipped the soil. In Europe they call her Gaia, in South America Pachimama, in India we call her Bhumidev, the earth goddess, But these days the soil is like, no, we don't want to touch that, we'll do it with hydroponics, we don't need the earth. So our nutrition, the nutritional profile of our societies is defined by the coin. And that is very myopic, and that's why there's no water left in Chennai. That's why there's obesity. That's why there's diabetes. That's why there's an education system that is corrupt. That's why we depend on a medicine that they're making money out of people being sick. So we can see very clearly that the well-being of this planet, which starts with the actual soil as the foundation of all biodiversity, is synonymous with the well-being of mankind. And to really embrace that, first step is to understand the fertility of the soil.
So from India being an agrarian culture, up until relatively recent, it still is.
Well, it still is, yeah.
Gone industrial.
Yeah.
I found when I visited northern India, Dehradun, in 2016, that I was going there to record the local uses of food plants and medicine plants, but I found it actually quite hard initially, until I developed the rapport and the relationship with people, for local people, young people specifically, to open up and say, well, my father knows all these teas,
right, yes,
as in wild, not Camellia sinensis, but wild plants that can be used as a beverage. But it took a long time, because it felt to me that because India is on an affluent trend, it's following a modern growth
it's not valued anymore,
that all that stuff is seen as, well, that's what you did when you were poor, and therefore, do you find that
definitely. I mean, we have a restaurant on the farm, and the restaurant focuses on local food, and that's definitely been a huge precursor for us to learn more and more about this subject. And the ladies who work in the cafe, they know so much, and their parents, they know double what they know, but their children know nothing.
Yeah.
And there's been like I call it a cultural nutritional genocide that has happened, and it's because of industrialization. It's eroded, the Maggi noodle, the Lay's crisp, the Coca-Cola, all of the pizza, the values are topsy-turvy. So the fact that, hang on, in my culture we know this plant is good for your knees, and this is good for your ears, and this is good for your hair, and this is good for your kidneys and your liver, and actually our culture has this treasure trove of nutritional medicinal knowledge which is at the heart of well-being of our society. It's why our people come like foreigners to India, because we have a killer, amazing culture that's not valued anymore. Yeah. I've got a pizza tonight and a beer, I'm doing all right, I know C++, but there's no bloody water left in Chennai, It's desperate at the moment. And I recognised, actually, you see, I know less about Dehradun in the north of India than I do, of course, about Tamil Nadu, having lived there. But the Tamilians are very proud people. They have, as I say, the oldest language in the world, and I recognize it's this pride which actually is the lever that you can sort of like push on to get people to act. And it's to say to people, guys, this is our culture. Our culture isn't just dance and language and this, it's actually the food. And the difference between England and Tamil Nadu, right, is that they do have that alive in them. Yeah. The agriculture might have gone a bit for six at the moment, but it's still alive for them. They know the value of banana stem, even if it's not common in the shop. Sure. They know the value of the banana flower. They know the value of the green papaya and yams and all the plantain and different plants that are not so valued anymore. So it's interesting. It's awakened this work that we've been doing is sort of like awakened this pride of culture, which is it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see that the difference between England. You see, in England, we just have no idea. You go in the shop, you buy an avocado, you buy an olive oil, you buy this, you buy that, you buy an apple in New Zealand, South Africa. It just doesn't matter. And it's not to blame anyone, because this is a very complex problem. This isn't about, I'm a vegan now and I don't use plastic bags and I do my Surya Namaskara yoga on my own. This isn't an individual story. No, this is a collective story. Yeah. So it's like in England, I was coming back from the airport. My friend was bringing me from the airport, and I was looking at the fields. I was seeing oilseed rape, and I was seeing broad beans, all for the dairy industry, and I was thinking, all these farmers, they're all complicit in the industrialization of agriculture. None of that food has a nutritional value to the society of where they lived. If there would be a project or an initiative where the local farmer grew food that has a nutritional value for his local community, there's where we would have a profound shift in I feel it's in consciousness, without being too wishy-washy, but it's about consciousness. Just means about how we think, the things that that occupy our minds, and it's quite feasible. It's quite feasible, but it means that our values have to shift. It's not that I've got an iPad and I've got the new Nike and I've got a Mercedes. It's that, well, I know that this stinging nettle is really good when I put it in the soup, and I know that this wheat comes from my farmer who lives next door, and that we have a festival together with him every year, and that we're a community, and in that community there's these bonds, and that's the foundation of well-being is there. Yeah. But you have to let go. You can't have the cake and eat it. I mean, there is no value in that, because as my friend Suprabha Session, who runs the Gurukula Botanical Sanctuary in Kerala, she says, we live on an extractive economy. Yeah. Everything we have, whether it's our shoes, our mobile phone, our cars, our dress, all of it's from factories that are using, limited resources, unrenewable resources.
It's an extractor and distractor.
Exactly,
culture.
exactly. And it will end.
Yeah.
It will end. So in Chennai, it's ended. There is no water now.
Wow.
In many places, there's no water.
So what's happening to the people? I mean, where are they going? Are they staying,
Well, they're bringing water.
moving?
They're bringing water in lorries and trains. I mean, they've been doing the lorries for ages, but there are whole villages that have been abandoned near Mumbai, in Karnataka, in Maharashtra. Whole villages are deserted.
Wow.
Because there's no water to feed even the livestock.
Moving into cities?
I mean, people are moving to where they can survive.
Yeah.
You know, and this is just the beginning. Now, India, the main problem is not the metropolises. They are not the main contributor of this lack of this water depletion. It's industrialized agriculture. Like in Tamil Nadu, we have moved from a nutrition that's based on millets. Like in our area in Tamil Nadu, it's called kuru, and it's finger millet and pearl millet, which is fermented, made into a flour and fermented overnight, then boiled, and then it's as a porridge. And you know, it might not sound very appealing, but when you live there and you have it with yogurt and a chili and onion, it's like bloody hell. You wouldn't want to eat anything else. You know, it's so good. So all the people are there. When you see the old man in the village with the loincloth and all that, they're 90 years old, hobbling along, and they attribute their health to that food. So now everyone wants to have white rice, and they want to have it 3 times a day. In the morning they have it in idlis and dosa, which is a pancake and a rice cake, and at lunchtime it's white rice, and in the evening it's white rice. So white rice is using at least 30% more water than the production of millets. I mean, I think that's a very conservative estimate, something I read quickly on the internet. Most of the millets, they're dry land, they just grow with the rains, you know. So for that to shift in Tamil Nadu, the first thing we have to do is to say, well, let's stop eating white rice. You know, let's stop eating white rice. That's a huge thing for people to shift.
That's a big shift.
It's a big shift for people because it requires a shift in awareness on many, many levels. First, you have to stop thinking about yourself. Think about your children, think about other people, think about, you know, resources as being collective and not my own well-being. But that's the primary shift. And I think that, you know, if you go back even further, you see that there were a lot more yams were grown.
Yeah.
A lot more other starch possibilities were there. And they were, like in Kerala, it's still alive. Like tapioca is very much used. You have a tapioca and you have a fish curry with it. You don't have the rice. So the tapioca is just a joke to grow. We grow like stacks of tapioca. You know, one plant potentially can give me 10 kilos. I've had 10 kilos once. Wow. So if you've got a little plot of 10 meters by 10 meters, and you got like 100 plants, you got a ton almost, and potentially, you know, even if you got half a ton, you're still like, wow. And you can make flour with it. You can make flour with the plantain. You can make flour with the other yams, and then you mix that with millet flours, and you have chapatis. There's so many solutions out there.
So how does the because I was attracted to, because I was in India in January, and we were going to come and visit you, and ended up in the Western Ghats, but I was attracted because you'd mentioned wild edible plants, forest foods, and I wondered how in your farm are you incorporating that diversity and eating the local wild plants?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I mean, that's
because some I mean, to me, I know permaculture. It's kind of a multitude of things, and I have some friends locally who I also podcast who do no dig, no disturb, the
right,
same one straw,
no till,
stuff, no till, and their soil diversity. Again, I mean, it's self-evident that wherever these principles and practices are applied to land, they radically regenerate.
Well-being manifests.
Just, I mean, hardcore.
Yes.
Like not even just like by a few percent. I mean, radically shifts health.
Yes.
And thereby, by default, human health.
Right. Of course. Well, I mean, what we see is, right, basically, The first step on this, I call this a road back to nature.
Yeah.
You know, it's a road back to the arms of Mother Nature, the road back to well-being. It's a renaissance of well-being. The first step is to value organic matter. If we don't value organic matter, the soil can't, because that's the most simple natural process that you see in nature, is that leaves fall and branches fall and they decay and you get organic matter, you know, nutrition for the plants. So every weed, every branch, every stick, every grass, every leaf is valued on our farm, and returning it back to the soil. It doesn't matter the techniques. The techniques will differ depending on topography, geography, climate, even demographics will define techniques. So we're not looking at techniques, but that philosophy, when that's applied, you know, that's an act of love to Mother Nature, to return that to the soil. And that soil becomes, as you say, healthy, you know, beyond, you know, you can't compare how healthy. It's just like, wow. And then what happens is then by valuing the ideas of permaculture, that means we put as many things in the field together, like intercropping, polycropping. Like we have over 140 plants that we eat throughout the year.
That's amazing.
So there's about 23 different fruit trees. So the fruit trees are your varieties, that is. Yeah. The fruit trees are your long duration, of course. You know, that's what, if we start a farm tomorrow, that's the first thing we put in the fruit trees. Then you put in your medium durations, 10 months to 2 years. So you've got papayas, turmeric, pineapples, bananas, moringa, the drumstick, and you know, tapioca, things like that. Then you have your shorts, so that's the tomatoes, cucumbers, you know, ladies' fingers, all that sort of thing. Then you have your very shorts, which are your spinaches and that, and then you get the volunteers. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what you're interested in. You know, for me, those are the colours of a culture. Mm-hmm. So for us, what we have is we have this polycropping going on, and all of a sudden, boom, you have this Talinium triangulare. It's a type of purslane. Purslane is a huge family, and this one is it's very good for pregnancy. It's good for cognitive ability. It's good for asthma. It's even good for men's virility. You know, it does the works. And we make smoothies with it in our cafe. We make a green ice cream with it. We make pestos every day with it. You know, with all sorts of different weeds and lemon and peanuts and a bit of coconut and then we make curries with it and soups and vegetable dishes with it. We use it all the time. Yeah. And people come to our cafe and the regular refrain is that they haven't eaten this type of food as good as that in their life. Right. You know, we hear that regularly. It grows outside every garden, outside every school, outside, you know, the offices, the hospitals, and yet you won't find it in a single shop.
Bizarre, isn't it?
You won't find it in it. You won't find it. Well, it doesn't fit into the little box of commercialization. And someone pointed out to me that commercialization starts that the seed company can get the seeds and manipulate it. Mm-hmm. You know, so they haven't been able to do that with this. So therefore, it has even less value. It's like side shelved. So that's the first one that comes up. So when I'm doing my tour in the farm, that's when I get to the point, I say, look, so this is the first thing, because I want people to do something. Yeah. You know, I want action today, now. Yeah. So you're not all going to start farming. You're not going to start, but you could all start eating this plant. Yeah. You know, it's everywhere. So start eating this plant. Locally, we call it korikire, which translates as chicken spinach. So as I say, eat chicken spinach, the first thing to do. The next thing to do is a green papaya. So we have green papaya everywhere on the farm. I mean, papaya everywhere. Green papaya is just a normal papaya that's immature. You know, it's a vegetable as opposed to a fruit. So you peel it, you grate it, it's a carrot. Yeah. The only difference is if you compare it with carrots, carrot seeds don't come so well in our area because they're a bit too hot. We can grow carrots for 3 months. You know, end of the monsoon, 3 months, you can just squeeze a little, you know, box of carrots out, and you make the bed. You put the seeds. You have to buy them in. You put the seeds. Yeah, you put the seeds. You thin them. You weed them. You water them. You weed them, and after 3 months, wow. Then you compare it to papayas. Papayas you don't plant. The birds are dropping them. They're everywhere. They require very less water. They grow all the year. You get green papaya all the year. And it goes for like 3 years. When they're too high, you cut them and they branch and they give more papayas. So they go for even more than 3 years. They have a higher medicinal and nutritional value. They have carotenoids in them, higher carotenoid quantity that changes into vitamin A in the body. They're good for gastrointestinal problems, good for skin. And then you get another characteristic of a local food is that you can use multiple parts of it. You know, the best you're going to get with a carrot is some permaculture guy will sell you it, and you'll get the greens as well. And if you've got a bit of a brain on you, you'll eat the greens as well. But the green papaya, you can have the papaya, then you have the fruit, and then you have the seeds. We make soap with our seeds.
Okay.
Then you have the leaf, which is good for dengue fever, malaria, chikungunya. My wife uses it. She's a very, very beautiful Indian woman, and she uses it as a face mask. You know, she looks like the Hulk, but it comes out. She's great, you know, afterwards. And I use my kids. It's good in Ayurvedic medicine to cool down a bit the fire in the body, the heat in the body. And then you can make a dessert. A girl from Bahia in Brazil, she has a vegan restaurant. She showed us how to make a dessert from the stem. So you got the papaya, like, and again, where you find papaya, green papaya being served in a restaurant, it's not there. No. And then you get things like the nanadi, which is the wild sarsaparilla. I don't know, a guy was like digging around in the farm. I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm Dr. Sri, this and that." And I said, "What are you doing then?" He said, "Well, I research nanadi, sarsaparilla. It's a cure for diabetes." Yeah. And he's like, there's not only one variety. He said, "This is one and this is another variety." We dig it out every day. We wash it, we smash it, we boil it, and we put some lemon and sweet. It is killer. Yeah. It's so good. It's cooling as well. It's cooling for the body. It's cooling for the body. That's a classic. It's also a blood purifier. Yeah. And we mix then another weed, which is called the butterfly pea, the Clitoria tenatia, which is good for, as I say, epilepsy, brain development. It's good for uterus, good for menstrual problems. We mix that with that one. In our cafe, we have three juices: a hibiscus with a lemongrass, the soursop, the graviola, which is your anti-cancer, with rosella, which is a bit like your sorrel. Yeah. And then the blue flower, the butterfly pea with the sarsaparilla. So these amazing juices, people kind of go, "Wow, what's that?" Yeah. So it's just weeds. You can do it. Look, it's there. You know, you don't have to come and spend your money here doing it.
So do you think so for me, with the ideas of the future of farming and the future of foraging, where I'm obviously with one straw, no till, they're kind of bonded together.
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, you do the foraging or
no. It's for us. It's one thing.
It's a hybrid now.
It's one thing.
So we were hunter-gatherers, nomadic. We were foragers. We didn't till. We didn't grow. Then we shifted to growing. And for me, the next phase is, well, if we're going to actually continue on as a species, then we need to combine.
Absolutely. The two. Well, you have to look at the bounty you have around you. Like, we have a whole range of Ayurvedic powders that we make. I mean, some of them are here. There's the drumstick spinach, which everyone's on for the case. It's actually the last one we did, because the last thing we do is a commercial thing. Yeah. We've got mortakan, which is balloon vine. It's good for your joints, for your articulations. We make a powder. We got ivy gourd. We've got the soursop leaf and guava leaves and tamarind leaves. We make powders from all these things. And if you research them, they're all incredible. Yeah. And I was walking down the road, and I did the post in the Facebook, and I saw the dandelion. I was taking a clip, and I saw the nettle, and because I talk about these to the people, and I say it's the same in England. You got dandelion, and I was like seeing them. I was really happy, and I saw the hawthorn, and I saw this, and then I saw the ivy. I thought, I'm going to take a photo of that. I bet it has something. And then I saw the holly, and I took a photo. And you go on the internet, ivy, medicinal values. It's a cancer cure. Detoxifies the body. You go to the holly. It's good for coughs and I think skin cleansing or something. Every single plant is a benediction of our Mother Nature, and we limit it to the bloody coin. Yeah. So who is stupid here? Yeah. You know, industrialization is eroding well-being. So until we're able to bring that subject, we don't have a cultural identity. You see, every civilization, as I said, they worship the soil, and their particular culture emerged with their language and their myths and their dance and their songs from that soil. And I think that's one of the problems I'm going to be in hot water now, but I'll risk it anyway. But I think that's one of the problems with Brexit, that people don't know where they're bloody going because we don't know who we are. You know, we don't know which foot we're standing on. It's only about money and this and that, and it's defined by corporate, defined by government. But actually, as a people, you know, what is our identity as Britons, you know, as people who live? So that identity can only be clear when we know where our food comes from.
Well, for me, I don't talk it in a patriotism. I don't even refer to nation states. I refer to where you find your feet, and that where you find your feet, every plant has a story, and that story tells you about where you came from and where you are now, and your potential for the future as well.
Definitely, yeah.
If you can kind of get into the more poetic side of plant
right,
gathering,
yes.
and be inspired, and
right.
allow the creativity to come forth in however you define that.
Yes.
So I'm leaving it deliberately loose.
I mean, I think in the world today, we're you know, it's not that there is a crisis, looming. I mean, at least where I am in Tamil Nadu, there is a frigging crisis. We are with our backs against the wall, and action has to be now.
Yeah.
I think in England, because there is money, even if there's a sort of poverty as well, but, you know, everyone has basically, they've got access to sort of, more or less, you know, somehow, there's things, there's food and support. There's a buffer. It's very privileged, you know.
Totally privileged.
But in India, there's something else happening. Although there's incredible privilege in India to a level that is disgusting, even of the disparity of wealth. But you see, like with the work that I've been doing, that has got so much attention, I feel this incredible responsibility that something has to be done. You know. So what I'm trying to do now is the government has a midday meal scheme for schools. All the government schools have a midday meal scheme. And I'm trying to promote a project, to start a project, which is not my project, it will be a very collective project, where we show farmers how to take, even if it's just half acre from their land, and, you know, start with lines of papaya and banana and the gourds and this and that and the turkey berry and all these different plants that are growing very easily, and try and get some sort of support for those farmers, and get those farmers to provide all the produce for the midday meal scheme. Because this generation has to know where its food comes from. It has to have a nutritional identity, and at the moment it doesn't. And I feel that a project like that could be very feasible. It's in India, very, very feasible, and I'm going to be talking about it with some business people in the University of London next week, and you know, try and bring some. I mean, it's not really. It does need funding. It needs energy more than funding. You know, it needs people. Right? Yeah, let's do it. Come on. But I was talking to a girl here, you know, who runs a farm. You know, she's got the same passion that you and me have. Yeah. That passion comes from your relationship with the soil. And, you know, the way she talks about her plants, you're like, it's the family. But this person, you know, she's also in an economic situation, and also in a society that she's left with boxes of kale. And she's like, who's going to buy it? You know, they'll go and buy an avocado and, you know, and a pizza and this and that, but they won't buy the kale. So I was saying to her, well, why don't you try and do the same project? Launch a project here in England, get 1 or 2 schools who will take a basket service from you for the whole school, and they won't choose what you give them. They accept what you give them, and you define the menu, even if it's only 1 or 2 days a week. Yeah. But you define the menu, and you get the kids to come to the farm, to help with the farm, to harvest, possibly to cook, and maybe do some celebration, you know, because celebration is integral to this work. And I think that this project actually, I think it could really take off. It's just I'm fed up with presenting projects, you know, and ideas. Like what we've done it. Yeah. We're not clever. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day that, I mean, I was talking it with my partner when I came down just now, and it's like, you know, I'm actually done personally. I'm done with activism. I'm done with protest. I'm done with all the stuff that I did for 30 years. It's not going to help.
No.
But actually, the change comes by that one person who comes on one of your walks or comes to the farm and
starts eating green papaya,
who suddenly shifts, and the unintended consequences of just talking passion and teaching the passion of plants, and how the potential it could be for human culture for the future, that has more effect in society than begging government to do it.
I think so.
Or anyone else.
I think so.
I do feel, though, for me, I suppose, is like, how do we change all those people? And I suppose because not everyone's going to go back to the land. Yeah, they don't want to be back in the land because let's
work
face
online.
it, however romantic it might be.
Yeah, it's hard work.
I know from over here it's flipping graft.
Yeah, and it's cold as well.
Maybe it's different over here because over here what I see is good-hearted people who come out of an idealistic space and try it and burn themselves out because over here we don't actually have community.
Right.
We talk community, but we don't bring in our parents to help us and learn from them and our siblings and our friends and the spiralling outwards to have the community. Whereas I suspect in India, the thing I observe is there is still community.
Very much.
It's kind of beginning to fragment and move off into the cities. So
I mean, this subject, without talking about community, without talking about education and celebration, is meaningless.
Yeah.
It's not an individual affair.
It's very. And I would say that John Seymour's book, Self-Sufficiency Bible, was actually almost had a negative effect on people trying to get into food because he didn't talk community. It was very
what
me
can
on
you
my
do?
own in 5 acres, and this is
a log cabin
and a log cabin and shut the world away.
Right.
And that's not how the
ecosystem
works.
It's not. No. In the farm, we do a festival most years. We've done, I think, about 5 or 6 now. It's called Lively Up Your Earth. And I'm going to meet, I think, some people in London next week who do a big festival in Pimlico, and they want to help me next year. It's great. But it's, the festival has music. I'm a musician as well. Music and art, it's an adhesive. It binds the community together. And if you can bring that within the context of local food, permaculture, edible weeds, foraging, then you sort of you've got the receptivity, the right moment to share that. So we also have cooking workshops in the festival. We also have all sorts of things, cotton spinning and block print. The whole shebang.
When's the next one happening?
In Jan. It'll be in Jan
2020.
Jan 2020, or maybe in Feb 2020. We'll give you a link to the Facebook, and you can follow it up. But I think that just to sort of, I guess we're coming to the end, no? Slowly.
Going to wrap and pack.
Yeah, I
do
think
have a question for you.
I think the most important thing I'd like to share is that when I met Fukuoka, because I met him in Dehradun, in Vandana Shiva's farm about 16 years ago, he said to us, only a fool, and the Japanese word for fool is a baka, only a fool will understand natural farming. And I can tell you that's what's happened in the farm. This grows on its own, this grows on its own, this grows on its own. We've had the sense to use it. That's all. There's no strategy. Yeah. There's no cleverness, and for that, you have to unplug from the industrialization. So for that, you need the community to value what you're growing and be part of it. But there is definitely this element of no effort. And that is because the nature knows better than us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. So just one final question. I have a friend who visits a village in Tamil Nadu, and she was telling me that the medicine of Tamil Nadu is very different from Ayurveda. Is that correct?
I mean, the traditional medicine is called Siddha medicine, and Siddha actually is an ancient spiritual sort of path as well. And the medicine
not from Star Wars, is it?
No, it's not. It's not the Force. Well, the Force will be with you. That's classic, isn't it? That's everywhere. But I'm sure they modelled Yoda off Krishnamurti, because George Lucas was a friend of Krishnamurti, and I listened to the voice.
Really?
You want to be Jedi Knight? So no, but Siddha medicine is an aspect of the Siddha tradition, and it is very similar to Ayurveda. It's different. It is different, yeah, but it's the same principles of Ayurveda. Is you treat the root cause of what's going on, and you might have a headache, but that might be originating in your stomach, and that might be because of this and that. And they still look at the doshas, kapha, pitta and vata, and they look at, I'm not an expert on Siddha, and I'm not an expert on Ayurveda either, but it is an ancient medicine technique, and it's very, very beautiful, and it honors nature. It honors nature constantly, as does Ayurveda.
Yeah. So it's been fabulous kind of meeting you. It's been kind of ironic that Sil and I were going to come and visit you. We didn't actually get in touch with you, and then somehow you got in touch, or someone that you know got in touch with me, and here we are talking. So I like that.
It's
little
lovely.
kind of
I love it. Yeah,
circle.
I feel a lot of resonance
with
what you're doing. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
So wonderful. So anyone wants to find out more about Krishna's work, or happens to be in India and is around Auroville, definitely check him out. There's also a guy called Pete, is it, who runs a botanical garden at Auroville?
Paul Blanchefleur runs a botanical garden. He's doing a beautiful job. Yeah, lots of things there. There's a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, very far out. Yeah. Very different to Europe. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wonderful to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, lovely.
We'll stay in touch.
Definitely.